This conference will now be recorded.
What is it doing? Now can you hear us?
Yes.
So it's all running through this, so you're gonna have to speak up, because everything's running through that, and I can't really display any maps or anything, because that's what I had to work with, so.
Okay. We ready to proceed?
So speak up, because it's all
Okay.
gotta get caught here.
Next item will be Wade Houston applicant Everson Properties LLC property owner, parcel 0711-284-8500-0 and 0711-284-9000-3, rezone of 12.76 acres from FP 35 and RM 16 to UTR or NRC for stormwater management area or to accommodate the proposed commercial subdivision to the south, remaining 35 acres to remain in the FP 35 zoning district. Everybody's got this map, the little one that's got petition 12237. It was in the big stack, or maybe not.
Back in.
Huh?
Hit the back end.
Steve, you let me know when you want any kind of explanation on any of this. Happy to take the lead.
Mr. Offers, you have the floor.
Okay. So this rezoning is associated with the parcel generally to the north of the subdivision plat. That's the main subject of the conversation tonight. It's on the agenda for rezoning because the proposed plat suggests using the southern part of it south of the Little Door Creek primarily for stormwater management. So the need is to rezone that piece south of the creek, about whatever 12 acres and some change from its current zoning. And there's two options listed on the agenda, and I think the consensus now is that it would be rezoned to the natural resource district, the NRC district, within which stormwater management is allowed. And then everything north of the creek would remain zoned in farmland preservation zoning and not change in use at all. Following the rezoning and a certified survey map that'll divide the two rezone areas, or the rezone areas into two, the Houstons will acquire the southern 12.76 acres so it can be incorporated in their development plan. There is also a certified survey map. It's not listed on the agenda for action or recommendation tonight. That'll have to be added to a future agenda for your advice.
Well, usually the CSMs are like part of the rezone, but the CSMs come back to the town board. later.
Okay.
So we don't usually list a CSM on the
Separately.
agenda at this point because lots of times by the time zoning and the CSM happen, it's changed anyway. You know, they go through so many.
So I don't mean to detour us too much, but would you expect the CSM to come back to the plan commission or not to come back?
Not if the rezone lines are different. You know, I mean, if you're creating two lots now, so the CSM is really ends up being at the town board level, as long as the rezone pieces are the same.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
And from our perspective, the county won't review the CSM until the rezoning is already approved, so we have to wait on the CSM until the county approves it.
yeah. That's kind of why, yeah.
So that remaining 35 acres, that's directly north of the 12.76, right?
Correct. And my understanding is the zoning is not changing. It just happens to be part of the same current ownership parcel.
Yeah.
And it will be part of this, I think it's part of the certified survey map as well. That's really fairly simple and straightforward. It's the zoning of that 12.76 acres that's on your agenda item number 5. You're being asked to make a recommendation to the town board to accept the NRC zoning for that piece.
This is also a parcel that has the 0.79 acres of wetland.
Yes. Yeah, as you get closer to the creek, you get wetland and floodplain, and those would by the grading that would be necessary for the stormwater basins.
And you get some amount of setback.
Yeah, the county zoning requires a 75-foot setback, which, if the wetland were on a buildable site or near a buildable site, it'd be an issue, but it really won't be a problem here at all. On the whole, when this is developed for stormwater management, the natural resources will probably be better protected than they are right now, given its farmland use.
So even though it's gonna be stormwater management, you still gotta have that 75-foot setback.
It's an impervious setback. I think you can do some grading in that setback.
You can't grade within 30 feet of it, but the 45 feet outside the 30 foot, that's no grade setback. We can just do a berm. We can create the berm for the pond within that 45 feet.
You can, okay. So it's not like you gotta have 75 feet of undisturbed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Just 30 feet of undisturbed.
Anybody on the commission have any questions? I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve the request to, and you just use NRC, right?
That's the recommendation.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
What was this motion?
To approve the request as number 5 says.
To the NRC and the other to FP 35?
Yeah. Yep.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mule, second by Hampton to approve the application to rezone 12.76 acres from FP 35 and RM 16 to NRC for stormwater management and to accommodate the proposed commercial subdivision with the remaining 35 acres to remain in the FP 35 zoning district. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item. Wade Houston petitioner Scar Pit LLC property owner. Parcel 0711-284-9210-0, 0711-284-7511-0, 0711-331-8580-6, 0711-331-8501-1, 0711-331-9001-4, and 0711-331-8012-0 at the northeast quadrant of Highway N and Highway 12 and 18, rezoned from RM 16 GC and LC to create 72.5 acres of heavy commercial, 4.0 acres of general commercial, 3 acres of UTR, and 11.9 acres of NRC to support a commercial subdivision. A lot of numbers.
So this one is a lot easier to understand if you have the plat map in front of you. So what the current proposal is that each of the 7 lots within the nearly 100 acre subdivision plat, the 7 buildable lots, would be rezoned HC heavy commercial, with the exception of the current proposal that lot 3 be rezoned general commercial. I'll come back to that. In addition to that, the rezoning application would rezone outlot 1, which is the stormwater outlot on the east end of the development adjacent to North Star Road, to the NRC district, and to rezone outlot 2, which is just south of that 12.5 acre area we just talked about in the Everson piece. And that would be rezoned to the UTR district, utilities, transportation, and something or other. And that outlot, the intent of that outlot would be for a common drain field or septic system for the current proposals for 6 and 7 lots within the proposed plats. The idea would be that there'd be a sewer system, privately owned, run to that lot, and it would all be treated on that lot, outlot 2. So UTR outlot 2, NRC outlot 1, lots 1 through 7, with the exception of 3 currently proposed for HC, and lot 3 currently proposed for GC. This is where we start to talk about, Craig's and Paul Davis's request. I think they are seeking HC zoning also for lot 3. I will note that their current lot is zone GC. So if that is rezoned to HC, you can't split zone the site. So you would have to separately petition the county to rezone your current lot to HC as well. And that could be done in combination with a certified survey map that would consolidate your existing lot with lot 3 if all goes as planned. I'll also note that the Houstons have submitted a deed restriction that would go along with the HC zoning that I would strongly recommend that you recommend be attached to the rezoning. That deed restriction for HC zoning would do a few things. It limits the land uses in the HC district to something less than what the HC zoning district would otherwise allow. It establishes areas and certain rules for outdoor display of equipment. We've talked with the Houstons about the potential for whoever they might sell these lots to have the interest in having equipment that they have available for sale or lease on display for people to look at. And they would also, the restrictions would also set limitations and design standards for outdoor storage on these lots that would go above and beyond what your design review ordinance would also otherwise require. So if there is a suggestion that all the lots 1 through 7 go to HC zoning, I certainly recommend that those set of deed restrictions apply to all lots 1 through 7 as well. There's a a couple minor, I guess what I call glitches in the deed restrictions. I'm getting into the weeds here a little bit, but there's some repetition on some provisions related to outdoor storage that can be removed. I mentioned that in my memo. What I didn't mention and just kind of discovered yesterday was among the permitted and conditional uses that they'd like to have, the uses that are titled outdoor storage and vehicle repair and maintenance are listed both under the permitted uses and the conditional uses. And it can't be both. They need to be one or the other. And I believe their desire is to have the ability to do outdoor storage with the limitations that are in the restrictions as a permitted by right use, as opposed to a conditional use, and same with vehicle maintenance.
So what you're saying is the fact that they would be amenable to outdoor storage to an extent, and then those outdoor storage would be limited to whatever the deed restrictions are that they used to, would come up with that.
That's correct. The deed restrictions, and you have a backstop of your design review ordinance. And when they, begin to sell these lots to other people, or when Paul Davis begins to expand, they would be subject to both the deed restrictions and your design review ordinance requirements. What they're kind of seeking to avoid, and I get it, is extra process and uncertainty that's associated with the conditional use step. So this was sort of the idea, or I don't even call it compromise. The approach is to let's set our standards up front, and here are our standards. If you can meet them, great. You can come here, and you don't have to go through a conditional use permit process. If you can't, then you can't do that storage here.
And that's all on, everything they like is on the sheet.
That's all in those 4 pages. Yeah, yeah. And again, those should be viewed as additive to the 6 or 7 pages of your design review ordinance, because everyone will have to go through that too. So I can certainly speak more to the rezoning, but those were the issues I wanted to talk about with the rezoning. The next item is sort of the plat, where we talk about where stormwater goes and how the sewer system works, and up the roads and traffic impact studies and things like that. Greg, you want to look at those deed restrictions? If you're asking for HC zoning, you should probably know what you're getting yourself into.
I think this is probably as good a time as any, just with Mr. Slager's questions that he provided us here at the beginning of the meeting. The first one was zoning alignment. I think Mark pretty much explained that to you now. We haven't heard back conclusively from Jason Tuggle yet on the stormwater that was referred to from the latest from Rachel's correspondence.
I think we did. I heard back today. It's come till 2:49.
Oh, okay.
So Rachel Holloway from the county shared with us what Jason from the Land and Water Research Division said. He said, it's up to the owners to work out stormwater between them and working in conjunction with the Land and Water Resource Division, how to proceed with this development. They have options, but it is possible that stormwater cannot be completely separated in this case. So, the water wants to go, I'm going to let Mike take over soon, but the water wants to go to Little Door Creek, right? And so the question is whether it gets treated on an expanded Paul Davis site and then gets released at pre-development levels to head to the creek, which is what anyone's required to do with their stormwater plan, or whether there's no stormwater management or less stormwater management on the Paul Davis site, and it all goes to the stormwater basins in that 12.7 acre lot. And yeah, I think a lot of that is a private matter that, doesn't necessarily involve the town.
Correct, and at
But-
this particular point in time, we still don't really have a good handle as to, how they wanted to handle their lot, per se, and I think we,
Lot 3,
yeah. If I could stick them both in a room and just see what comes out of it. I don't know that, I don't know if the calcs for the stormwater included lot 3 or not, that the Houstons didn't know. And so if they haven't, and there's an expectation for that water to go from lot 3 all the way through, I think there's work to be done and, to go ahead and make it work if possible. And I'm sure there's gonna be extra costs and time involved versus, Paul Davis handling everything on site. And, and I guess at this particular point in time, I don't know that can we actually even truly consider in the scope of what we're dealing with tonight, adding lot 3 in here because of the fact that there's so many unanswered questions? I'll ask you as the planner.
Well, I guess I would look at lot 3 in the context of if there was no deal between the two people to my left and right, would we allow lot 3 to be platted? And I guess that would be the question. It's an unusually shaped lot for sure. And so the alternative would be, I assume, for them to go back to whatever their default deal was between the two parties, and then the plat would be redesigned to conform to that previous deal. If they can't work out anything else.
Okay, is the current situation going to preclude us from potentially approving the preliminary plat tonight?
You're not obligated to act on it tonight if you don't want to. The town has 90 days from submittal to act on plats. So if you find that this and other issues are too much, you're able to defer it. And if you feel that the final plat will be substantially different from what you're seeing here today, a 1 month deferral may be appropriate. And then the parties can decide to talk to each other or not and revert back to it, whatever the default arrangement is, which, as I understand it, it relates to a 4-acre piece of LC1 zoning to the immediate south of the Paul Davis site. But I'm not party to that agreement. The town's not party to that
No.
agreement.
We wanted to do it separately just because of timing standpoint. We didn't know what Craig's plans for future expansion and all this other stuff. Mark's correct. The original agreement when we acquired the Offstone farm was an offer to purchase or a 99-year lease on a 4-acre parcel to the south of the current parcel that they have. We met with them and showed them our preliminary plans of what we had. And they came up with an idea of what would better suit their needs. And we adjusted it a couple of times and adjusted it. We didn't really want to do it, but made a little kick out of goofy lot lines so they could accommodate their own stormwater pond in that. So we agreed to that, knowing that they could handle their own stormwater, and we proceeded with our plat as it's proposed. So we were going on our own time frame, not knowing what he was going to do, but the proposed layout that we agreed upon would include provisions for his stormwater.
The pond to the north accounts for their pre-development flows to run through the system that would be built underneath the road into the big pond. But it hasn't been, we didn't run calculations as being post-development with no ponds on their lot because we were given a plan showing the ponds were there. So we approached the whole thing as pre-development, made the submittal. And after the submittal, the question came up about sharing the largest pond.
Yeah, our application was already into the county, our paperwork, when we got a request to review our stormwater calcs, because it would save some money on a stormwater pond on their property. So, and we said, no, we already got our application in, we don't want to stir things up and time frame, we didn't want to mess up the time frame by any means. So,
Okay. Do you have the space right now to accommodate them? Not necessarily in the pond, but the area around it, you can increase the pond.
well, I mean, we've got a significant amount of time and cost.
Right.
To acquire the land and build these ponds.
Yep.
Would there be space? I don't know. We don't know what our buildings are gonna be, what our impervious areas are gonna be.
Yep.
I guess we could get 100% built out and see if there's room left. You know, I can't answer that.
That's
Maybe it
fine.
might, but
That's why I bring it up.
yeah, no,
It's maybe one of those points where it's a done deal already. You haven't had to put the ponds in your land.
My biggest concern from a calculation standpoint was the culverts that go underneath the extension of that big. We were barely had enough clearance with the pipe size that we had. We increased that flow with post-development. On their side, it might not work, or additional pipes, the twin pipe might be needed. That we haven't run. I know that we were struggling to get the pre-development flows and all the runoff from the ditches on the proposed road to get underneath that intersection.
May I comment on that?
Yeah.
I've been working with Quam Engineering.
Yeah.
This question came up about the culverts, to address that one. It's Quam's opinion, for what it's worth,
Yeah.
that we can slow down the rate of water runoff to likely accommodate the existing plans for Scar Pit. I think it's also worth noting that I've been working with Wade, the current landowners, for 2+ years now, to come up with the configuration of Lot 3. And so there's been awareness for some time. And that configuration of Lot 3 was a mutual decision. It wasn't to solely, suit the needs of Paul Davis Restoration.
Yeah.
4-acre parcel to the south that's been referred to, doesn't really align well with Scar Pit's development's ambitions. And so through that negotiation process, we mutually came to the conclusion that the way Lot 3 is configured now suits both parties' best interest. The little bump out in the northwest corner of Lot 3 is there only because, there was, until October, didn't really know what the regional systems might look like. That was our first introduction to those things. If we are in some way permitted to use the regional system, that little bump out could go away, because we wouldn't need that anymore to put our own local stormwater system in place.
You're talking the bump out on the south side?
There's a little bump out in the northwest corner
Northwest
there.
adjacent to the
right in the
county
way
end.
end.
There's a little angle.
That little low spot? Historic low spot? Okay.
Yes, right there.
Where does all the water from the current site go now? Does that go directly into the ditch on BB, or on N rather?
Yeah,
I'm
there's a
sorry.
pond right in that corner.
There's an existing pond just to the south of that bump.
Okay.
That's necessary if we have to provide our own lot stormwater management, but according to Quam, that can be eliminated if permitted to use the regional system. The other thing that, and I'm getting this from Quam, I'm not sure how much this has been seriously vetted or not, but according to Quam, the way the regional system is currently designed, it can handle our impervious water runoff.
How
that-
can you figure that out with not knowing exactly what they're gonna have
We do,
on site there?
we do. Craig's got a full build-out plan already developed for a future plan that shows expansion of buildings and all the lots and everything. And I believe that Quam's were to share that with Houston's people. So I think the total amount of impervious is pretty well known for the future, for whatever the plans are
Of Paul Davis.
down the road. Yeah, 4 to 5 years down the road. On the complete build out, there's a extra building, there's some more lots or some more parking lot area. It's pretty comprehensive. It's been developed over the last couple of years, and we started talking to them about sewer was our main concern, 2 years ago. They talked about maybe bringing in a municipal sewer, and there was never any mention that there was going to be a regional sewer. So we're kind of running two different paths here, and we didn't have the information of what was going on one side. So we've got a lot of money and time spent in trying to develop a lot, and then found out not very long ago that there was a lot of regional stuff being incorporated. So, and Paul Davis has 1.53 acres right now. It's all, at this point, and the 4-acre option. So the combination would be 5.53, and that full plan is pretty much finished.
Went through the expense of developing the plan because we were uncertain about how the Scar Pit development was going to proceed. And then through zoning application to the county, we received Snyder Engineering's plans. That's when we discovered the regional systems and reached out to inquire if we could participate in that, and that's what's led to the questions today. Listen.
And I guess, I was just gonna say, as far as access,
This is the full concept.
I guess. I kind of hearing something going on there.
I do, and I was gonna come back to that, but the last thing on here was driveway or road access out to the back of your property as opposed to currently on Highway N. And in my discussions with Wade, it didn't sound like it was going to be an issue to have access to the new road that was gonna be developed in the back.
Yeah, that's my expectation. There was some notes in Mark's
Yeah.
report that spoke to potentially keeping the driveway, I think, and I just wanted to bring it up, but that's not my intention. I don't really want to have access it's dangerous right now, so.
From N.
I think there's just a little bit of uncertainty. I was gonna call it schizophrenia, but keep an option open for access in some of the submittals. So some of them talk about closing it off and moving it to the town road. Some of them, but there is provision in the preliminary plat for that driveway to remain, and there's mention in the traffic impact analysis, but hey, this could actually work with the driveway in this location without specifically referring to the Paul Davis driveway. So there's a little bit of weighing options, I think.
Correct, we weren't interested in proposing something in a preliminary plat that would take his access away, so we just left it in the preliminary plat.
Sure.
And whether he chooses to remove it or not would be his at that time.
Yeah, I mean, the county and state may weigh in, and if they see that there's alternate access provided to a town road, that might be part of the deal to get rid of it.
We know the county likes to take access away. They can possibly do it.
I guess the other thing is like the cost of the stormwater. I mean, we've got a lot of money into this. We're gonna have a lot more into it. What happens if I mean, how do we get compensated for it?
I've offered to, share in the expense.
What
of
happens
that.
if we can't agree on the price?
haven't-
Then where do we go?
Yeah, we.
Go back to the original 4 acres that's recorded and start over?
That, what I'm hearing, that's between you guys.
Yeah.
Once,
We just want to keep it separate because we didn't know timeframes. We wanted to keep the ball rolling.
and that's fine. That's fine. It's what you two come up with. And right now, we understand your questions, which are great. But you two have to work this out. And whatever you come up with is what will happen.
And let lot 3 work on its own stormwater at this point.
Right. That's what it says at this point.
Yeah.
Unless there's a change. But as you're hearing, there's a lot of stuff to consider on their end, not ours.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing to have a plan B,
Correct.
as far as you're concerned, in case plan A doesn't work out.
Or they choose not to move forward and he still wants to
Right.
expand, he still needs to take care of his own stormwater.
Right.
And that's where,
If this falls through, we'll just keep farming it and,
if, after you guys talk, and you have to come before us with a proposal, I'm assuming, correct?
I
With
wouldn't
this changes? With
Paul Davis, if they
Well-
expand, oh yeah, they'd have to come back to you, absolutely.
Okay. That's what I see.
and all the other flats back there have to handle their own stormwater. With Dewey's down there, does he have to handle Cummings and Turk stormwater or?
No, everybody's, it's all on site.
And Larry Scores is gonna flow towards that way. He's gonna have to probably control his own stormwater, even though those are regional outlots, aren't they? Out the end of North Star?
Yeah, I mean,
It's
at
the
some
same
point,
situation.
a regional outlaw doesn't serve stuff beyond a certain point, right?
Yeah.
And so the question is, where do you draw the line and who, if someone's gonna pay to design and construct it, it makes sense that they should benefit from it and be the primary, if not only beneficiary.
Sure. The designer.
The designer, the constructor, I mean, they're
Yeah.
creating the,
That's the
If
same.
you had someone new, they pay what it costs to do it.
yeah, or some, if there's a land swap or something, it's not really up to us.
Right.
No.
And if
Cash always
basically the
works.
the rezoning proposer or the plat proposer, in other words, the Houstons, aren't satisfied with the, outcome of negotiations, they can go back to whatever their default original agreement is and bring forward a plat and rezoning proposal that corresponds with that. So your question, Steve, is it? I never like to slow things down, honestly, because I don't want to come to meetings, frankly. And, but if the question is, would we allow lot 3 as a separate independent lot, the way it's shaped right now? The answer is probably no. It really makes sense only in the context of it being joined with Paul Davis's existing lot.
So that's a new survey map, everything. All these.
Yeah, I mean, at first, what would happen if the plat goes forward is the plat gets recorded and lot 3 gets recorded in its screwy configuration. And then, and here I'm kind of painting the ideal picture, then Houston's transfer lot 3 ownership to Paul Davis. And then Paul Davis hires a surveyor to prepare a certified survey map that combines their current lot with lot 3 into one lot so that they can build over, erase lot lines that they can't build over. In addition to that, if they want HC zoning, they would have to, for the lot 3, they would have to apply for HC zoning for the existing lot, because you can't have part of a site zone GC and the other part zoned HC.
Are there any conditions that they would have to do with that lot? For instance, there's a scrubber they were talking about from Town and Country.
Those might have
That's the
Nick's comments.
stormwater snout and bioskirt configuration.
You know anything about that, Mike? I don't.
On the back sheet.
Yeah, I'm not telling the country.
Okay, I know. Maybe you might have read it.
I'm the planner that draws pretty colors on maps and makes people do
Do a great
unreasonable
job.
things, water flow uphill, that kind of stuff.
They're noting that there would be a snout and bioskirt configuration to address any oil and grease controls. Assuming that would
That's
fall,
in the regional facility.
so that might, is that a heavy commercial thing or a general commercial thing?
Right.
Or-
It's
and-
it's just a development, it has nothing to do with the zoning. It's, I shouldn't say that, it's commercial zoning, it does not make a difference which one it is, correct.
Okay. I was just wondering if if they had their heavy commercial, would they be required to do something like that? But it doesn't sound like that's the question.
Any commercial has to deal with the oil and grease.
Okay.
They would have to do it on site versus downstream,
Right.
correct?
Before it gets released to Door Creek, it needs to be treated for oil and grease.
You don't have to do it on an individual site. The water could be sent to a regional facility and treated that way.
Okay, but in this particular case,
Pay for it.
given the circumstances and everything else, it probably would be more appropriate to treat it up there rather than going down through and having it be treated just before it goes into
We're treating,
their regional septic system down there, correct?
we're treating it at the wet basin, the wet regional basin is where the oil and grease is gonna get treated. So they're all the lots 1 through 7, excluding 3, go to that location as the oil and grease treatment as part of the wet pond, so. And whether it's heavy commercial or general commercial, it doesn't matter. No, they've got a bioretention basin on their current plan that they dropped off to you there. That takes care of oil and grease, the bioretention basin for the expansion plan, so. They were doing it on site, and then the regional facility was taking care of it.
So I have a question, we're talking about, all the restrictions and everything that's pretty much for this whole plat being applied to lot 3, but yet lot 3 is being excluded from regional sewer, any advantage that they may have or any advantage that stormwater may have. It's getting, they kind of want 3 to comply with the whole plat, but yet they don't want 3 to be part of the plat. I'm trying to find the logic there.
The current request from the owner was to put GC zoning on lot 3 because that's the zoning designation for
But
your
we never,
existing
I
land.
don't, that's was on the 1.3, but I don't think we ever talked about, because we've discussed this with surveyors and with our engineer about changing our zoning and with the architect that we have hired. So we've been well into the fact that we understand the combining and the change and all the things that we need to do. So that's not new to us, but I don't think we ever conveyed anything as far as what zoning might be appropriate for the expansion that Paul Davis wants to do.
Fair
With-
enough. I didn't
with
think
you.
that was your point. I'm sorry.
I guess the way I look at it is, even though using your scenario that you may not be a full participant, so to speak, you are directly adjacent to what everything else is being built. And to have the potential to have one set of standards here and maybe, and again, this is just for discussion purposes, something that doesn't quite match here may go ahead and detract from what everything they're doing next door, and something that we as the town would like to see consistently throughout that whole corridor. And I guess I would prefer, and I would make the recommendation to the commission that anything starting now, going as long as we're doing commercial along in, that it's all gonna be the same set of standards, We don't want a mobile home in amongst a mansion, and it's, again, I'm just using it as an extreme comparison here, but, and therefore, I would think we would want consistent operations, or strike that, consistent uses also. We don't,
Yeah, and treatment, so that's what we're looking for too.
That's a, I mean, it's kind of a unique situation that we're already part of the plat, we're already into it. And so creates a conundrum, I guess. But
Yeah,
it
but
seems we're still gonna be part of the business park when it's done. The land is gonna get sold to somebody else someday, and it's gonna become part of the, it's connected by the same road.
it's kind of like part of the village and the town being next to each other. Take Damascus. You've got those homes up there that are, who knows how expensive they are, other than they're expensive. You go across the street, you've got 40-year-old homes.
And I'm very sensitive to time and money on the part of the Houstons. Like, I don't want them to incur any additional delays or monies, but the confusion lies with, we've been talking about this development for 2+ years. And so to only learn of these possibilities a month ago, is part of the reason I'm raising the question to the planning commission.
The stormwater was never, I guess, part of our negotiations is to handle your stormwater.
Well, yeah, and quite frankly, you didn't have control of the Everson property, so
No,
you couldn't
we just-
speak to a regional basin until you were able to get that worked out, which then triggered us to move the basin onto the Everson property and not eat up the land on your own developable.
Like the plan said, that's, I guess, between us. We could go back and forth on that probably all night, but I'm not sure we're gonna get anywhere. I would welcome an opportunity to negotiate. I haven't been given that opportunity yet, so.
Yeah, I'm, the best, I think, everybody will agree here, the best that the town could do would be to, wish you both well and your discussions going forward, and hopefully things work out for everybody involved.
Yeah, I mean, it'll work out the way it is. Ideally, I think for the town, it would be that lot 3, continues with the same conditions as all of the lots that are surrounding it versus it being on its own little island, as you pointed out. If that can't happen, then, we can move forward independently. The question I have for the plan commission for the town, does that serve the best interest for the future of that parcel? Doesn't make sense to me, but if that's the way it has to be, that's the way it has to be. So. And again, I'm not asking for anything for free, so there's potential savings, yes, if I can participate in the regional systems for my own stormwater management that I'm willing to share, fair and reasonable, of course. And in addition to that, if half the lot doesn't need to be reserved or used for stormwater management or sanitary systems, to me, that plays a small part maybe into your consideration, but it impacts the future development of that lot. If it had to be used for local stormwater management, then that restricts the amount of development that lot might be able to experience. So it's a small part in terms of property taxes, I suppose, as far as you're concerned, but it certainly has an impact for the value of the land as well for me. So if it's open for future development, which not part of the plans. The plan is based on local stormwater management right now. I don't have any real ambitions to make that any bigger right now, but I need the land for local maintenance, so not much option for me anyhow, unless that changes.
I wish you both well.
I mean, the regional thing just come up. I know we talked about sewer before. We're doing a regional facility, hopefully for the sewer. We talked about the sewer before, and there's some things with chemicals that has to be different uses for his business that wouldn't well with our plans for a septic system, the joint septic system. We're paying for the road, allowing him to hook onto it. I think we've been accommodating very well on a lot of these things. I know there could be some things there with stormwater. we didn't plan on it. We just acquired the land, like Mike said, still working on the design, so. We were just kind of running independently with what we had and given the opportunity to hook onto the town's potential roadway and just carrying on.
It may be worthwhile to talk about other issues that don't have to do with this interaction. I mean, it's a 90-some acre plat. There must be other questions. We haven't talked about traffic or other things yet. So,
Got a whole bunch of stuff I want right here.
Speak.
Go ahead, Troy. And his current one is right there.
You already mentioned the glitch in the restrictions.
yeah, there was a section that was just repeated twice and it ended up being confusing. And then I mentioned the
I'll take credit for that one.
the uses that were listed in two separate spots. They should probably, with your consent, be crossed off of the conditional use list because they're actually permitted uses in the PUC district.
Road E, not in, had advised not to require.
The road to the north that would connect to the bend in North Star Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we had that in our plan, the town's plan. I'll say a couple things about it, at least the way I conceived it of. I thought it might provide access to deeper lots if we didn't have big, deep lots. On the Houston's piece, they do have big lots, so that doesn't, extending that road wouldn't necessarily benefit them. We have a concept plan for the other side.
Yeah.
And that could probably get by with an extension of a little cul-de-sac of North Star Road to the west, as opposed to a through road. The second, and in my opinion, the main reason for that secondary road was if the first road connection fell through.
Okay.
So, and that, if we get this plat, it won't fall through. It'll be, exactly what we want. So, it was sort of a belt and suspenders idea as much as that. And then the third thing that I'll comment on is that, when we prepared the overall plan for the, 400 acres or so of the North Star Road area, we didn't look at the fine grain detail of whether things, how feasible a lot of stuff was. And as we look closer at that area, now we've got wetland setback, floodplain, and then just when you get out of that, you've got a steep wooded drumlin. So the thread of road through there, would be challenging at best. So my suggestion would be that we let that, this plat goes through as planned, let that go and be happy that we've got the main road connection through, which was the kind of a big deal.
The less roads maintained, the less.
Well, and you're right. If you're gonna have another road, you might as well get some benefit from the road.
Right.
And this, this new road that they are planning has benefit because you're gonna have more lots and you're gonna be able to get deeper. That wouldn't add much, if anything.
And I think before they purchased the property from the Vinnies, they had already thought about putting a stub cul-de-sac in. I'm assuming that's the land further down that you're referring to, the other section. What's that?
That's where the Snowball Trail goes through.
Yeah, where, correct, basically the piece you purchased from down in Maryland, you possibly put a cul-de-sac in there, maybe, or that's.
No, that's still Don's development to the south.
No, there was, in Don's original drawing, it would have been to the west side. Of the
Oh, I
water.
see what you're saying. Yeah, that's part of a giant lot now.
Okay.
Yeah, so it doesn't mean it. Yeah, when we were talking about that, we were kind of wondering, well, what if you get a bigger user and you built a cul-de-sac and you're like, oh shoot, I just spent money on a cul-de-sac and I don't have a big enough lot for anyone. So, yeah, not necessary.
Okay, and then you mentioned something on number 2 with secondary zoning matters.
Yeah, I think, sorry to cut you off, Troy.
No, go ahead.
That's been resolved with this whole NRC zoning. It was just a timing thing because I commented on this and then 2 days later it got worked out.
And then you'll work out some type of agreement for all of the people that are now gonna be owning the land and how they're gonna share a portion of the treatment center, or how they share a little bit of responsibility for the treatment center. So it's kind of gonna be like a contract. And you got that drafted or ruled on that?
We will.
Okay.
You have one at your house, so I'm sure it's something similar to that. Right?
And the good news with this development is, I don't know if it's good news for them, but it's a two-phase development. We were in preliminary plat phase now, and rezoning, and they're just, looking for general consent that they're on the right track. And Wade talks about he spent a lot of money, he's gonna spend more because they have to go to final plat where they have to, refine the engineering, refine the stormwater, prepare construction drawings for the road, all that sort of stuff in great detail, and do all the legal stuff that's associated with, what you're describing in particular.
Okay.
And that would all be, with the final plat and along with the development agreement and other things that you guys would be involved with.
Do you want to start traffic now?
Sure.
Let's go in. I got some other ones coming down the line, we'll just do traffic first. That might answer some of the questions.
Yeah, Mike, do you want to describe where you guys are with the traffic impact analysis? What it's revealing?
Yeah, I received the draft this afternoon, and I did not have a chance to go through it, but the initial memo, I did not get any indication that there was changes to the recommendation, so I'm working off the same memo that you reviewed. And that there's, the biggest concern is with the connection of North Star south of 12. And that left turn, this northbound left is causing the backup or the trouble. And that's the biggest concern that I saw in the memo itself. And that the fact that the left turns on the North Star from 12 or either direction aren't protected right now in any way. And there's a volume count for the truck turning and the vehicle turning there, but that safe movement of left turns, whether this development goes or not, needs to probably be looked at and addressed in some fashion. There's a recommendation for, I've seen them as I've gone north and where you drive past the intersection and you do, it's like a U-turn and you come back and take a right in. That's one of the recommendations to get rid of.
So Michigan left.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's the way to deal with one of the turning movements. And the other one would be to use the interchange itself, the ramp, turn around and come back and come that way. Instead of having a U-turn in both directions, it would be to use the ramp system to come back at the other direction. So that was in the recommendations that I saw in the memo. And then ultimately, 20, 30 years down the road, the recommendation for roundabout seems to be the best deal. The ramp that comes, the eastbound ramp, now as anybody gets off there now, tries to take a left on the highway end, you get stuck there once in a while with all the traffic that's running north-south on end. And that's showing signs of, it didn't even come across as being a problem right now, but it's not far from being a problem. That's where the roundabout discussion starts and going down through the intersection. So I didn't.
Down to MN for another roundabout.
What's that?
Down to MN for another roundabout.
Yeah, well, I think it was to up the net big and the ramps themselves were, and I don't know about the MN one, there really isn't as much traffic down there, but I don't recall the memo saying the MN one.
Like it said, like 35, they might.
So you touched on it. So the roundup, is the memo currently recommending that the intersection at Napbig and this new road and N be a roundabout intersection?
Not right now.
Not now. Future.
Year 20, 30-year traffic or wherever the full projection is, it looks like it triggers it at that point.
I hear you. Thank you.
But I'll get the draft distributed out to Kim and copy you when I send it to Kim so she can get it in everybody's hands to brief that.
The key people, of course, are not in this room. They're the county, the city county building and the state as the DOT on Wright Street. So getting their attention and ability to review it, I think is important. And I think having, you know, if it's not tonight, soon, having a preliminary plat and a rezoning approved may help, because then they know it's a real thing and not a developer's dream. So that's part of the reason for proceeding forward with the preliminary plat process while the TIA is ongoing.
And when we had that meeting in the summer, I think they were looking for somebody to raise their hand and tell them who's gonna make all the improvements that come out of the TIA. That was the gist, I think, from the county perspective. So I don't know, that DOT didn't really have a position or wasn't making any comments, but we're using them as a lead because we're adjacent to a state highway here, so. We will get that feedback from them too. But I agree with Mark, some type of entitlement and or approval here will facilitate or put some meaning to the development itself, and response time.
So would the county then be responsible for designing the intersection then at Natfig and the new road and N? Or would it be up to these guys?
My opinion is the county and state will try to push as much of that to someone else as they possibly can. Probably they'll look to the developer to prepare designs. And then the question is, you know, he raises the cost of design, cost of construction. So as you can see, there's going to be time that's going to need to be built in later to figure all that stuff out. So that's the critical path is traffic right now.
And I think if the Houstons were asked to build 3 or 4 roundabouts, just put this plat, that puts us back to, no, the plat's not moving forward, and Craig's just expanding his own lot. So it's, you know, that's unfortunately, we have to get through that hurdle with DOT and in the county to find out what requirement is there on their perspective, from their point of view. But 30 or 40 years down the road, if everything grows like is projected in the TIA, the roundabout would be the best way to solve some of the turning movement issues. Doesn't mean that you have to put them in, it's just, there'll be turning movements that are, people are gonna sit there longer than they want to, so.
But the traffic at Natfig and N, I mean, unless the pit traffic picks up, I mean, it's not going to be an infinite amount of traffic forever and ever kind of thing, just by virtue of the fact, once you get the lots built out, you know, you're going to reach your, it's nothing like traffic is going to continue to increase in volume over the next 30 years if all of your lots are built out.
Yeah, the bigger issue would be just the north-south traffic on N. If it increases, then it causes those left turns to be, you know, it's harder to get out there to make the movement. And that's where the roundabout comes in. That growth on not their development or anything in that specific spot. It's just the regional traffic, north-south.
And then you got a wall that you recommended maybe better have that graded rather than a wall.
Yeah, I just
15-foot
pointed out
wall.
that there seemed to be a wall just to the north of the Paul Davis Lot 3, a retaining wall where the grades would change, presumably to create small, flatter lots on Lot 1 and 2 for buildability, and, you know, having a relatively tall retaining wall isn't necessarily the greatest thing. Costs money to build, and then there's fault, you know, liability issues and things like that. So I pointed it out as a planner's musing as to whether there could be a better solution than a retaining wall there.
What do you want to do? You want to put a wall there or you want to?
Well, I think we're still working on that final grading. You're talking down here.
No, it's right,
Oh, here.
it's right here,
Yeah.
yeah, it's right.
We did change those 4 and 5 grades a little bit, and brought them up a little bit.
Oh, 3, 4.
We're trying to flatten out those 2 lots.
Yeah.
So there's a wall on the north and there's a wall on the south in order to flatten it out and balance earthwork and.
Yeah, there's such a great change from here to here.
No, I get
We
it,
gotta break it.
I get it.
or step it in between the two lots, but we don't know where that lot line is
Yeah,
gonna be for
these
sure.
two lots might be one lot.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to take a grade change
Right
out of the
between,
middle.
yeah. I hear you.
So that's something that's work in process.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I don't anticipate you guys would build a wall without knowing what's gonna, the final designs are gonna be.
Right.
You might have the space with whoever buys the lot.
These grades are still getting tweaked a little bit here and there.
Then going to an 80-foot road, 80-foot right of way, 80-foot right of way road.
We thought Mark's comments at the last meeting got us to that point.
Oh.
Based on the 12-foot lanes and the shoulders, and so we changed it from 70 to 80 because I thought that's where,
Because that's what we are back on North Star,
70.
70?
7.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I
Yeah.
confuse matters, but the cross section is in the subdivision ordinance and you're saying you couldn't build that in 70?
Should be
No, we-
70.
we have no problem going back to the 70. The comments that we got when we came here, just for the concept level, we interpreted your comments, Mark, to mean that with the two lanes being 11 feet, I thought you said 12 feet. The geometrics took us to the 80-foot right away,
Yeah,
but we certainly are happy to go back to the
No
70
bike
and
lane.
making sure the
Okay.
truck turning.
Yeah, I'm
lanes still there.
I'm sorry if I'm often confusing. I'm sorry if my
That's all
comments were
right.
confusing. I didn't mean to push them to 80 feet.
70.
70 is fine. And then he just needs that land dedicated. He doesn't necessarily need to put in a width of 70 feet.
The road width, the pavement width specified in the town is 30 feet.
Right. And we added that 5 extra feet for bicycles and so on, correct?
Yeah, that's the
From 65 to
content.
70?
No, I thought we added it just because of the size of the traffic.
Yeah, the question is whether you, at this point, then it's called a neighborhood connector street.
Oh.
You know, I think the idea was, you know, in residential subdivisions, you would stripe the edge and that would provide a place for people to walk as opposed to walking in the ditch or walking in the travel lane. Whether you need to stripe that lane here is debatable. I don't know how many folks are gonna be walking around. But I do think having a 30-foot wide pavement section makes sense here if you have larger vehicles, you know, trying to get by each other.
Right.
And our truck turning movement showed that it needs to be that way too, with semis coming in and out of driveways.
Instead of like.
And then do you have to have them as a signer on the plat, or do they have to give it over prior to?
The northeast corner, that strip of land, the 33-foot strip you're referring to? Yeah,
At 33?
you've got an agreement. that-
Yeah, I've talked to Paul again and Steve, they're all aboard. So we don't have anything in writing, but they're all,
You're gonna have them sign the plat then?
Sign the plat or have a deed specific.
quick claim deed
Quick
or
claim
something.
deed,
Yeah.
warranty deed for the town.
Right. We separately talked with Steve and we concur that he seems excited about this. And
I
instead
think
of a
his,
gravel driveway, you get a paved town road.
Paul's pretty happy about it too, with the boats.
But
He went and moved his boats around and he's already planning how to. I think Steve's new proposed site plan even showed coming out to this new road.
Yeah.
that's right.
Correct.
And I think the only thing that comes to mind from stuff learned in the past was just making sure that whatever you guys design, that, for instance, like the stormwater, when it comes to maintenance on that, that it's all in the deed, that everyone in those lots is responsible. That anybody that feeds into that is responsible for it. Sense. Because we did have an issue where we down on the other plats, where 3 lots that contributed to the water, but they're not responsible for the maintenance of it. And we dumped on the other
Same
ones
as what we
because
did
it
at
wasn't done
Dewey's.
at the beginning.
So Troy, the proposal here,
5 years.
and we can work,
After
there's
that,
gonna be
we
development
were-
agreement language
did
to buttress
vouchers
this, but the proposal is that the stormwater lots would be town owned.
It would be town owned.
That's what it ended up being in
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is in
Dewey's development.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just talking with Chris on that. Chris said that Dewey's gonna do it for the first 5 years, and then it would come to the town, and then the town would bid it out and charge
Oh,
back.
charge it back.
No,
Okay.
it'll get,
Yeah, well,
I think it'll get dedicated to the town and the town will take care of it, but we'll have to charge everybody back. I
That's
don't know about the 5 years though.
There's a provision in state law that requires the developer
Up
to
until
plat
80%
up until
sold.
80% of the lots are sold to take
Oh.
care of it.
Yeah,
So it kind of hinges on how quickly lots
Yeah.
are sold, and at that point it gets turned over,
okay.
inspected and then turned over. But yeah, you all absolutely can, do that kind of charge back, that assessment idea when and if you guys do have to go into basins to maintain them. But, this is a classic example where you want to have it, because you're going to have a new town road, that'll drain to that. And you're going to have 6 or 7 lots that'll drain to that, all with different owners. And so to have a responsible party being the town to take care of it makes sense in this setting. But they'll, just be clear, they'll build it. It'll be inspected by the town engineer, and then it'll be turned over to the town.
I am not personally familiar with the scrubber and the other device that are gonna be in there. Is that an active mechanical device, or is it it just sits there and collects stuff and has to be cleaned periodically, or how does that?
That's just the boom, right? The scrubber?
Sure.
It's oil and grease. It's like a boom. It's a,
Cloth covered.
yeah, it's a boom. It's a roll. But it's gonna be a maintenance thing. You gotta replace it every.
Because it floats, I mean, the oil floats, so it floats it down.
Madison, they gotta do them in Dane County and the inlets and stuff.
And or if there's a different preferred, if Town and Country has a different approach to wanting to do it for the town's benefit, we don't have any problem modifying the design. So.
is Nick gonna talk tonight?
He was on, but,
And he said, it's right there, it says caller, Nick, or caller.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Is he there?
Anybody else have a question?
No.
And we'll get a detailed planting plan with the final plat then?
Yeah, that'll be part of their final plat submittal to plant for the stormwater basins, and that has a secondary benefit of providing habitat for the bees.
And the woods is gonna be gone?
The mass grading is.
Yeah. Small.
Proposed to take the corner out, yes.
Saw up some hardwood.
He's got his eyes on it.
Can you, since you're developing this, are you gonna kind of build the suit, or is everything, when you sell the?
We have-
basically doing-
We have some interested people already. What we'd like to do is build this suit, maybe lease.
We'd like to get some approved zoning so you can have
Yeah,
further
we need to
discussions.
be able to market it.
Yeah.
We need to get approval so we can move forward and lock up some people.
Some of these are flashing green, does that mean they're trying to talk?
Yeah.
The flashing green
her,
is,
that's Kate.
that's this.
Oh, I thought-
That's the active, that's who's talking.
Oh, it's picking up his voice, okay, good. Because somebody's PV sent a message, it's,
Oh,
He's got a hand up.
I saw a message from Nick that said that he didn't have a speaker working.
PV just had a message up there about something not working.
Yeah, somebody just said that they would talk to Mike because his something wasn't working. It was Nick, and he said, my audio isn't working. Mike and I just can discuss in more detail. He also did have some notes here, which I couldn't see because it was turning on around the other way. He said there is another detail describing 80-foot right-of-way in the ordinance, which is currently shown in the plan. I would recommend keeping the 80-foot right-of-way with its current lane widths due to traffic type, as Mike mentioned. And then he said my audio isn't working.
There is, the minor collector street cross section is 80 feet with a 34-foot road.
34 feet. Get one.
What's that?
Get 180.
Seems kind of big.
You don't want it to be a racetrack either.
Well, that's huge. I mean, that would be almost allowing on-street parking and still.
Well, that would be the question, would you then allow it on one side?
No.
I don't know, I guess I've never thought about that. We're so used to not having on-street parking and.
The larger lots, you shouldn't need it.
No.
Typically in an industrial park, you don't have it or don't really need it.
Yeah.
You know, if you were creating a downtown area or something, that's a different story, but that's not what this is.
I would say leave it at 70. Not go to 80.
I would be inclined to agree with that.
What are you gonna do with that other 10 feet? Yeah.
So at some point in time, the discussion, or a comment, I should say, was made that the lot lines, the proposed lots here, the lines to depending upon who your buyer might be, that lines might shift around or whatever.
Yeah, and like the lots 3 and 4, or 4 and 5, 6 and 7 may become one. You know, one bigger user.
Then they just do a CSM to erase those lot lines.
How do they,
Happens all the time,
Yeah.
actually.
Or if he needs a little smaller.
You guess,
one, then
sometimes
he
you
needs a
guess
bigger
right,
one.
sometimes you don't.
Most of the time you don't.
how do you stub in your regional septic system then? You just leave it underneath the road until such time as somebody buys a lot, then yeah.
Well, there'd be laterals into each lot to accommodate it, and if there's one that's not used, you just keep it capped.
Oh, okay.
And the county wanted us to show on our site plan, wanted us to put a site plan together the backup plan for, because of the mass grading here, everything would need to be a mound system. We wouldn't be using virgin soils, or we can't predict where the grade is gonna be, so anything that would get constructed on the lots, should that system fail, would end up being a mound system, so. And they'll have plenty of rock in the area with their mass blasting to accommodate the extra cost associated with mound systems, so there's space for it on each lot and in those general locations as we show them, so.
So the restrictions regarding the private system will probably need to also specify that they need to, in their site planning, provide for an alternate location if that.
That's probably a good idea.
Alternate site.
50 years down the road or something, so.
Yeah.
And if the HC zoning goes through on everything, that house becomes unusable?
Close to that, no.
Just so you plan for it.
I just think if we could go forward here, we have a lot more questions to get answered and details to do, and just one step at a time. But,
We get a little assurance, we can move forward.
right,
Anybody else have any questions, comments?
So on the actual deed restriction thing, what languages did we want to strike that was duplicated exactly? And then I got a question on E.
So the idea on the deed restrictions is that here, where it says outdoor storage under conditional uses, that would be removed because it's already listed here.
Under B2.
Right, and that vehicle maintenance and service would also be crossed out as a conditional use because that's also listed.
B4.
Right, and then the rest, under section E, I guess it's on the third page. You read down 1 through 12.
It's a formatting question.
Yeah, and at some point you get to number 8, outdoor storage, and everything after that is removed from that section because it's taken care of below.
Okay, that takes care of my question, then. Okay.
I don't know if that made sense to others, or if you need me to mark yours.
I think you guys got it for B, right? But on E, on number Roman numeral 8, VIII, scratch all that stuff all the way down to 12, including 12.
Including 12?
Yeah, including 12.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just repeated, it just got copied twice, and
There was a formatting issue there in the word.
Mike shouldn't work so late at night.
I don't know if I did, but I'll take the blame.
It was just a glitch, it's not a.
You say it wrong.
No, I don't. I mean,
And these are what are gonna be in the deed, correct?
Those will be recorded against the entire plat, and it will affect all the lots, against each of the lots in the plat, so they'll all have to meet it.
It'll show up in title work when somebody's looking at that.
Anybody?
Except for lot 3.
Well,
It's excluded.
yeah, I mean,
The
again,
legal description does not include lot 3.
okay, getting back to our initial story, the current application from the Houstons is that lot 3 would be zoned general commercial GC.
Yep.
The request
Yeah.
from Paul Davis is that be zoned HC. I am suggesting that if it be zoned HC, then those restrictions also apply to lot 3.
And 3 should be included in this.
And furthermore, when they apply to rezone the rest of their land, where they got their current buildings from GC to HC, which they would have to do if this lot 3 is zoned HC, that these restrictions would be applied to them there too.
on the existing lot.
Right.
Right.
If there's a desire for equal treatment, that would be equal treatment.
And when they create the CSM combining, getting rid of that lot line, if there'd be a new deed restriction against the new CSM lot, that would be correct with that.
Okay.
So we should include lot 3 in this?
No.
If you guys read through it and you're good with the restrictions,
And the reviews.
my initial
No.
view didn't seem to see anything that
well,
You guys don't care, we just did it as GC because that's what it existed.
if you are gonna recommend HC zoning for lot 3, I recommend that you apply those deed restrictions to lot 3.
When we do it.
When it comes through. for when they decide to,
We add lot 3 to that.
when you add lot 3,
Yeah, I mean,
that's when we would do it.
if right now, what you want to do is just go with the Houston's request to go to GC zoning for lot 3, then don't worry about the deed restrictions for lot 3.
Correct.
And then that would leave it up to them to come, Paul Davis to come later on to request rezoning of their current lot and lot 3 area to HC when they combine the two.
If they want to go to UC.
If they end up wanting to go to HC with the restrictions.
Just, the question is, or just the notice to make sure that these would also be applied to their lot.
When.
They would go to
Apply.
the.
Yep.
When the rezone comes.
Correct.
There's my.
Do you think there might be a possibility that modifications to 12 and 18 and N might result in roundabouts for this development that they would have to do?
I don't think the county built for 30 years. In this situation, it's not required for this development.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't see the development moving forward if it does become a requirement. It's just gonna be too much cost.
Right. I guess we'll tackle
What's that?
anything that's in orange. There's a cost
Oh,
to that.
Chris, do you have any more questions? All right.
The wetland delineations are all good. You want a motion to rezone the RM16 and the GC and LC to create a 72.5 acre heavy commercial and 4 acres of general commercial, 3 acres of UTR and 11.9 acres of NRC to support the commercial subdivision.
Is everybody okay? Understand the motion? Huh? Yeah, I'm just making sure we ask for a second.
Oh, yeah. Condition, modified conditions.
Chris, you want to add the modified with the deed restriction?
Well, it had in it, didn't it, refer to his letters?
Yeah.
I think the main question is whether your motion included the request to rezone with the modified deed restrictions or not.
Yes,
Perfect.
because he doubled them up.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Get it done.
Okay. Next step. What's that? Next step.
That's in the next thing down.
Oh, never mind.
That you concerned.
I'm gonna find my agenda sheet here.
This is just the reason.
Here we go, I got it. Too much page up.
Sorry.
All right. We have a motion and a second.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next item. Wade Houston petitioner, Scorpio LLC property owner, preliminary plat review for 7-lot commercial subdivision, northeast quadrant of County Highway N and US Highway 12 and 18. Ironstone Commercial Park, I like that name.
Score Pit.
What's that?
Better than Score Pit. I don't, marketing person on
Yeah.
Score Pit would have been a hard sell.
At the moment it was called Sport, it was a 10-second decision.
I get it. It was a working title.
Years ago. Yeah.
So for the plat, if you're ready to act on the plat, you actually have a resolution in your packet that you could move to approve, and that would take care of everything. It encompasses all of the items in my recommendation memo and all the items in Nick's memo. Sometimes by reference, sometimes, directly.
Change it to 70 feet versus 80 into that.
You're
Yeah.
saying we can be done with 7, huh? Move to
You
8.
could get there quick. Mike Calkins asked how, if your preference is for a 70-foot right of way, how that could be part of the motion. I guess you could add another condition that said the developer can or should reduce the right of way on the plat from 80 feet to 70 feet for the new road.
With the new road.
I'm just looking to see where. Maybe we make the change in number R, where the developer shall address all the town planners' comments and the town engineer's comments. And just put something in there that changing the,
You could just say, except that the new road right of way shall be 70 feet.
okay.
The document he read and did not comment on was an 80-footer, so I think it's important to get the 70 feet into the approval.
Anybody have any questions before I make a motion? I would move that we approve Town of Cottage Grove Plan Commission Resolution 2025-11-24, recommending conditional
Oops, that
approval.
should be 11/26. You have the wrong date on there.
Okay. Recommending conditional approval of the preliminary plat of Ironstone Commercial Park as presented with the addition that the
New road right away be 70 feet.
yes, 70 feet for the right of way. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Ender, second by Hampton to approve Plan Commission Resolution 2025-11-26. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries.
Did you read all this traffic?
The
analysis?
fire chief
Did you read all this
concerns,
traffic
oh,
analysis?
his concerns revolved around the fact that it's a million square foot building and
You called about that.
I did. I said, I think it was just an idea of what could go there.
That's what the county wanted to see, a layout of septic areas, parking areas, so that they could conceptualize things.
Right.
I was thinking at first when I saw that, we get a mini Amazon going on out there, you know. so-
They'd have to do their own fire suppression.
Those will all come back for design review when they come forward, and that'll all go back to the fire department for their.
We do not like drawing anything, we don't know what's going there, but we were told we had to.
Yeah, that's not, pretty much.
Second. On the veto, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks for being,
Thanks for everything.
thanks for the